Welcome to Tales from Flat Space. I'm LJ Spencer, your author and narrator. Just know that the novels in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. This is Part 2, The Search, Chapter 21, JD. Tap, tap, tap. What? I mumbled, half awake. 5 more minutes. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, fine. Yes, I'm awake, I grumbled, slowly opening my eyes to see a bot in front of my face, using an appendage to tap on my shoulder. Oh, hey, Gerald. The bot trilled again, sounding relieved. I blinked several times, yawned, then grimaced at how dry my mouth was. Violet? Atmosphere is nominal. It is now safe to take off the emergency pressure suit. Oh, thank God, I said, checking to make sure that the inner door was opened. Seeing that it was, I unzipped the suit and it removed all the tubes. I sighed in relief and peeled that thing off as fast as I could. I said with a groan once the suit was off. I was now naked. The metal of the demon's floor was cold, but I didn't care. I started laughing at the absurdity of it all. Eventually, I managed to catch my breath and say, Hey, Gerald, recycle that damn thing, would you? Demon, print me some clothes and stay at 1G for the time being. Acknowledged, said the demon. The shower is ready for you. Shower? Yes, thank you. I sat up eagerly, beyond ready for it, but realized my body was still not cooperating when my back muscles started to spasm. Fuck. Okay, slow and steady it is, I said to myself. I managed to slowly heave myself fully upright by holding on to the doorway's handholds. I let myself adjust to gravity, then pulled myself into the shower and luxuriated in the hot water flowing over me, which eased some of the aches in my body. I leaned my head against the wall. Damn, that feels good, I said out loud. There were soap and washcloths waiting for me, and it took 3 rub-downs before I felt really clean again. I stayed under the water until my hands wrinkled and my stomach started to growl. Shower off. Demon, can you print me, some sort of hearty stew? Acknowledged. Please remove clothes from printer. What? Oh, right, I mumbled, mostly to myself. I toweled off quickly and retrieved the clothes. I reveled in how soft the basic ship tunic and pants felt after all those days in plastic as dinner began printing. The bunk was already pulled out, so I sat down. Looking around, I couldn't see the little bot anymore. Gerald? Yes, JD, came the demon's computer voice. That's really you, Gerald? Yes. You've reprogrammed the demon? My senses were now alert. Part of my brain was worried I'd have to go back to the suit again. No, JD, I have added my consciousness to the demon's programming, but the basic functionality has not been affected. My creator gave me a strict instruction set for interacting with other computers. I breathed a sigh of relief. Well, it seems your daddy understood much more than he was letting on. Okay, so we need to talk strategy. We need to get as much information about the ancestorship and what's going on with Nemetona and Eli as possible. The printer chimed. I pulled my dinner out again and began to eat quickly. I groaned in happiness at the real food, but resumed talking between bites. Then we need to get to Loki. There was a trill from Gerald. Your body has been traumatized, JD. You need medical attention. I sighed. I know that, Gerald, but I don't have time for actual recovery right now. This is an emergency situation. Do I need to give the Sun Tzu override? That will not be necessary. I nodded. Good. Finished with my meal, I refrained from licking the food container clean and put it in the recycler instead. Right. I will make one concession to my health, though. I need some real sleep. Can you keep Nemetona on long-range sensors while I'm out? Yes. Would you like me to wake you if there are any changes? I smiled. Now you're getting it, buddy. Yes, I'll strap myself in the bunk too in case you have to stop for any reason. Understood. I pulled out the linens for the bed and strapped myself in. Good night, Gerald. And thanks. You're welcome, JD, Gerald replied as I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up later, the cabin was dimly lit and the only noise was the hum of the demon's engine. I yawned and stretched, feeling all the aches in my body at once. Oh, I said out loud, unbuckling myself from the bunk. The printer came on, and by the time I sat up, there was an injector sitting in the niche. I have created an analgesic for you, said Gerald. It is a long-lasting formulation. Bless you, Gerald. You are a god among AIs, I said. I jabbed the injector into my thigh muscle and sighed with relief as the medicine kicked in. Any change to our friends out there? No change. Well, that's a good thing. I took care of necessities, put on some fresh clothes, and ate an easy but large meal, all the while thinking of how to get as much data to Loki as possible. I put my dishes in the recycler. Gerald, can we pilot a jump sequence around the ancestor ship and Nemetona so that we can get data from all angles of each ship? I don't want to go to Loki empty-handed. Yes, said Gerald, with a corresponding single trill. It will take approximately 2 hours. I nodded. We'll also need a plan just in case either the ancestor ship or Nemetona decides that it doesn't want us around. Gerald gave a double trill. Nemetona is the AI equivalent of unconscious. But the ancestor ship isn't. Status of ancestor ship unknown. Exactly. We just don't know how awake or not the ship is. Gerald chirped. I will extract us from any dangerous situation immediately. I thought for a moment. Yeah, that's about all you can do. If that happens, jump immediately to the standard system rendezvous coordinates and then send out a picket to Loki. But if the ship comes after us, we can just keep jumping until we either find a place to hide or we lose them. Unless the ancestor ship learned how to make jump drives from Tony. It is possible, JD. Eli used the modified demon to go over to the ancestor ship. Damn, you're right. Okay, do whatever you can to keep us alive, and hopefully Loki will catch up to us sooner rather than later. God willing, it'll be sooner. Let's get a move on then. Please strap into the pilot seat for deceleration and jump, Gerald said. I did as I was told. When I was strapped in, Gerald said, Jumping. Suddenly, the ancestor ship and Nemetona were large on the view screen, winking in and out as Gerald moved the demon. My body pushed up against the straps of microgravity. After about 20 minutes of gathering data, I got up out of the seat and headed for the food printer to print a nutrition shake. I always marveled at the massive selection of flavors compared to Unity. There were so many, it was hard to make a choice. After a few moments, I just randomly jabbed at a flavor. Gerald, show size data of the ancestor ship and any energy data on the screen. Acknowledged, said Gerald, as the printer chimed. I pulled out the bag with the shake and tasted it. Wow, Thai peanut curry? I exclaimed as I returned to the pilot seat. Is your selection unacceptable? Asked Gerald. I shook my head. Ah, it's surprisingly good. I wonder who came up with this. According to the demon's records, the first John Smith had a particular neurodivergence around food, so his primary nutrition was from nutrition shakes. He created a number of recipes in order to have a variety of flavors, since the standard shake flavors were, according to him, boring and tasteless. He told the first AI psychologist about this, and they asked John Smith to share his recipes since it would be useful for those who need to live off nutrition shakes temporarily or full time. I raised my eyebrows. Wow, I said. Survey didn't waste any innovation, did they? I thought. It made me wonder why some of this technology hadn't made its way to Unity. You know why, Bill. Another voice in my mind said. Some company would want to make a profit off the shake flavors, but Survey would consider it medical information and would want to make the recipes open source. I sighed. My home colonies made a lot of things much more difficult than they should have been. I shook my head and sipped my drink, trying not to get depressed about Unity's flaws. The data scrolled by as Gerald continued the jumps. Damn, that ship is big. Are there any life signs at all? Only one, human. Eli, then. How are his life signs? I have not finished my analysis of the ship and the data from it, but the data suggests that he is probably unconscious. Damn. I put the shake bag into the recycler. Get as much data on his condition as you can. Acknowledged. The data kept coming as we jumped around the two ships. Nemetona seemed to still be wobbling on her axis, even though her hab was still spinning. Why did that happen? I asked myself. Could being unconscious have an effect on ship stability? I was going to ask Gerald when something snaked out from Nemetona and reached out to the demon. Emergency jump commencing, said Gerald, and suddenly the ships were gone from the screen. What happened, Gerald? I asked. An appendage from Nemetona was coming towards the demon. I initiated emergency procedures. It is possible that the output from our sensors may have triggered the reaction, the AI reported. I sighed. All right. At least we got some data for Loki to analyze. Take us to the rendezvous point. Acknowledged. The hum of the engine shifted again as we prepared for the jump. Part 3. Memory. Chapter 22. The Negotiator. I opened my eyes slowly. A reddish sun was in the sky above me, with 2 moons rising. I rolled over and pushed myself off the ground, which I could see now was a ruddy, coarse sand beach. I took a breath of sulfuric-smelling air. Where am I thought? And how can I breathe this air? I lifted my hands, and instead of 5-fingered hands, I had long arms with cup-like projections along the bottom. What in the world? I tried to say out loud, but it came out in squeaks and clicks instead. Aren't these supposed to be different? I remember they're supposed to be hands, but what does that mean? I heard a noise and looked up. A 6-armed being was moving fast down the beach, their heads swaying back and forth, as if looking for something. When they saw me, they turned towards me, waving 2 of their appendages. Negotiator, there you are, they said as they approached. Why are you out here by the water? Are you all right? I know the talking time was difficult this morning, but we really need you back at the community hall. I started to say to Healer, but wasn't sure how to reply. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling well. Yes, I thought. I'm negotiator, and this is healer. I left the community hall a short time ago. They put an appendage to my head. You aren't too cold, even though you've been by the big water. Are your stomachs all right? Do you have head pains? I don't know. My stomachs are fine. I don't have head pains. Their color fluctuated between red and dark brown. I worry about you, negotiator. I worry about me too, I replied. So, what's going on at the community hall now? This time, they turned bright red. SkyMapper is talking about making a ship again, and Leader is trying to discredit their work. Leader says that SkyMapper is making a big deal out of nothing. Oh. SkyMapper sent me to come get you. You believe SkyMapper, don't you? That the sun is going to harm our planet? I blinked, then looked out at the ocean and the sand. Memories of being in a different body, wearing a suit to breathe air, and beings that looked similar to the ones standing before me but with crystalline appendages. What was this memory? I thought. Was it a vision? I shook off the strange memory, but I knew in my heart that SkyMapper science was true. Yes, I absolutely do, I replied with conviction. The being in front of me flushed to a red purple. I thought you did. Come, let's go before Leader and do something stupid, they said, and sped off down the beach. After a bit, they turned and called out, Negotiator! I'm coming, I replied and followed. Negotiator, said the dark red person that met us as we entered the large round building that looked more like it was grown than built. Yes? Are you okay? I'm glad Healer found you. Yes, water listener, I'm fine. What's going on? Another dark red being came up to us. Mostly Healer trying to get you to come back here, my friend. Are you sure you're up for this today? I'd like to send them home, SkyMapper, Healer said. I gave a negative wave. I can do this. You need to convince Leader that our sun is starting to deteriorate, right? And that we should start putting plans in place to save our people and heritage? SkyMapper gave a wave in the affirmative. Maker of Things left too. They said they had a solution, but won't tell me what it is. They left before I could ask what they meant. Why haven't they told you what the solution is? I asked. They are being themselves, negotiator, said SkyMapper sarcastically. Their skin darkened. Healer's skin turned red-purple again. Healer pulled out a circular tool from their bag and put it against one of my tentacles. I felt a small prick on my skin and my body began to relax. Not so much as I couldn't function, but enough so I wasn't tensing up. There, that should help you until you can go back to our pod and sleep. I gave an affirmative wave and went to take my place in the center of the room. The crowd sitting in the circular rows around me quieted down. The back row had a dais with the Leader on it, surrounded by his pod. I bowed to the Leader, then spoke. Friends, we are facing a great problem. Our sun is unstable, causing our atmosphere to degrade. It may be rotations before something catastrophic happens, but it is coming, and from SkyMapper's calculations, that something could happen sooner than that. We need to start preparing for that eventuality, or our people's history and culture will be lost. The science is exact. There was a ripple of chatter through the crowd behind me. I turned around. An opaque, iridescent sphere was floating towards me. I couldn't see Healer or SkyMapper, but I'm sure they all went as pink as I did when the outside of the sphere rippled into transparency, and inside was a being that was similar to us, but had crystals on the ends of its appendages instead of normal flesh. What is this? Bellowed Leader. The edge of the bubble shimmered. Then the being inside spoke. I am the first of the caretakers. I was once the person you called maker of things. I am now much more. I will create more of myself, and we will work with you to send a ship to the stars to find a new planet for our people. It will take several generations, but it will be done. No matter what you decide, leader. Sky Mapper's assessments are correct. We are running out of options and time. The room was still for a long moment, then exploded with sound. I stared at Maker of Things. No, the caretaker, in shock. Their experiments had worked, but the cost was so high, I thought. Maker of Things won't be there for our children. The noise of the room began to feel too loud and my head started swimming. There was so much emotion in the room I couldn't keep it out. The grief I felt from the rest of my pod was overwhelming. It was then that I saw it. A being with only 4 appendages and something growing out of its head. They looked at me like they knew me, and I heard them say, Eli, this isn't in my head, but then the being disappeared and I felt myself falling. There were soft noises around me as I floated in the warm herbal water. I'm in a healing pool, I realized. Again. I sighed and opened my eyes. Healer was sleeping in the visitor pool. Hello? I said out loud, and Healer immediately woke, flailing around like a child. I chuckled. They turned pale, then red, and said, Oh, thank the waters that you're awake. It looks like you had a stroke, although it's not like a normal stroke. Damn maker of things, why didn't they warn us? The image of the caretaker came to mind. They really did it. I wasn't dreaming? They waved in the negative. I curled in on my appendages in surprise and grief. Healer waited a long moment, then got into the healing pool, wrapping themselves around me. I know, negotiator. I know, they soothed, turning a soothing shade of pink. Our pod will be different now. Their warmth let me start to keen, and I could feel their sorrow match mine. Soon others from the pod came into the healing room from the waiting area. Sky Mapper came into the pool with us, along with Water Listener. Others of our pod surrounded the pool, all showing pale skin and twined tentacles reaching out to us. The keening became louder, and our emotions mingled through the water and through each other. Underlying the grief was anger at Maker of Things for moving too fast, and the fear of what the leader and their pod might do to ours. We put that aside as Water Listener began the death song, and we listened as we saw the memories of Big Swimmer finding Maker of Things' body in their workshop, and the caretaker hovering in their place. Then we saw Big Swimmer and Sky Mapper take Maker of Things' body to the ocean, releasing it to the deep. I shared how I had seen Maker of Things the morning before the meeting at the community center, how alive and full of determination they had been to prove that Sky Mapper's calculations were correct. Then there was the conversation we all had about having children, and the pod around me keened again, grieving the loss of Maker of Things' genetic material. No, Healer said out loud through the grief of the pod. It's not lost. Then came their memory of Maker of Things giving Healer one of his appendage molts. The pod's grief softened, even if the anger was still an acute feeling underneath. Healer spoke up then. I think the rest of this can wait until we're out of the healing center. The other pod members turned red, then brown as their sorrow ebbed. Slowly, they all drifted out of the room, leaving only Healer, Sky Mapper, and me. I uncurled, feeling much calmer than I did before we grieved together. I think I want to go home now, I said. Healer pulled away gently. I'll look at your readouts and see if I can check you out of here. I think the other healers will agree that resting at home without stress will be best. I will try my best, I said. You will stay home and rest for a good long time if I have to tie your appendages to the root of the pod tree, snapped Skymapper. Yes, parent, I said in exasperation. Healer laughed as they left the room. Skymapper moved to the edge of the pool. I mean it, negotiator. Leader demands too much of you, and their challenge to our pod has been a hard trial. I know, Skymapper, but he wasn't listening to you or to the science. He may not care about future generations, but I do. And we need a way to preserve knowledge outside of genetic knowledge. I will grieve for Maker of things, but this new caretaker may just save us. Skymapper waved in the affirmative. I know, you're right. I just wish you were healthier than you are. This takes so much out of you. Their skin turned pink and they ran affectionate tentacles over mine. I turned red in response. I love you too, Skymapper. They wrapped themselves around me and we stayed that way until Healer said we could go home. Chapter 23, The Negotiator. I felt appendages glide along my mantle, larger than the little child ones that had been crawling over me while I prepared the midday meal in the food warmer. A soft mental touch told me it was Skymapper. Hello, I said as I gently brushed the children away and towards the common room. The giggles and squeaks as Skymapper tickled them made my heart glad. Food will be ready soon, I yelled after them. Skymapper resumed their hug. You're back early, I said. I felt their affirmative response. Parenthood suits you, negotiator, they said. You seem healthier, and it's been a year since you've had a bad head pain or fainting. I turned in their arms and said, You are avoiding giving the reason you're back early. They turned red. I was sent home. What? Why? I asked. They sighed. Because I've been working with the caretaker. I thought Leader wanted you to work with the caretaker. Skymapper pulled away, and I could feel their frustration as their appendages receded. Yes, they did, but their podmates are drumming up worry that everyone will be forced to become like the caretaker when it's their time to go to the ocean. The caretaker has said no such thing. In fact, they only want people to volunteer to become like them, and only volunteers who are ready to go to the ocean. I've been trying to explain that to them for months, but they don't understand the caretaker and what they're trying to do. I stared at Skymapper, not believing what I was hearing. Most people were fine with change, but to hear this kind of rumor-mongering was upsetting. You don't think they'll shun us, do you? I asked in a near whisper. I don't know, negotiator. If they do, they're making a massive mistake. We only have a few generations before the atmosphere becomes toxic. I think most people don't care about whether our society dies out or not. People always said our pod was strange for thinking about the future of our people instead of just accepting life as it is, but I know we could go to the stars and find a new home. The caretaker can get us there. I just don't understand why people can't see that. The food warmer chimed and I filled the waiting bowl with the food. I brought it to the children in the playroom while I thought about what Skymapper had told me. The very idea of that the leader would shun us for trying to create something new was horrible. The children all went red as I put down the bowl, feeling my worry. I'm sorry, little ones. There's some grown-up things I'm worrying about with Skymapper. Will you be good and eat your meal while I go with them? I'll send Water Listener to you, and maybe they'll tell you a story about the ocean. Okay, they all said, emoting agreement. One of the littles stared at me, still red. Made me wonder if they'd take after Healer or Water Listener someday. They came over and curled up in my appendages for a moment, and I could feel love and worry and questioning. It's okay, little one. We'll be back soon. I'll tell you more when I get back, all right? I felt their affirmative, and they left me to go eat their lunch. They seem to like you, said Water Listener behind me. I'll be curious to know what they will call themselves on their naming day. Go on, I know you want to help Sky Mapper. I should start the littles on their lessons anyway. They turned a beautiful shade of pink, and I entwined appendages with them briefly, before returning to Sky Mapper in the food area. They were still sitting in a pool of worried dark red. I sighed. Come on, Sky Mapper. I may have been a parent for the last year, but I'm still the negotiator. But what if... I know the risks, but Leader's Pot is being unreasonable. What if they shun us? Then we leave. There are enough of us in the pod to survive a move, and I don't think we'll be the only pod to leave. Others will understand and come with us. They stared at me for a moment, and the way their color fluctuated, I could tell that they thought I was going crazy. Where do you come up with these things, negotiator? It's one thing to have new ideas, but to bring forward an idea that risks our pod being shunned. That's why I didn't fight being sent home today. I couldn't do that to our pod. They curled in on themselves and turned darker red. I quickly wrapped myself around Sky Mapper, trying to soothe them. I know, and I know it's scary, but Sky Mapper, you're right. And so is Maker of Things. You've shown that there's planets with intelligent life out there, and if we can save something of ourselves, maybe we'll be remembered long after our people and our planet dies. They relaxed in my arms, and I felt their affirmation, but they still were worried about the price they'd have to pay. Sky Mapper, Maker of Things sacrificed themselves for this, and we can't let that sacrifice be in vain. If our pod has to do it alone, we will. But I think there are other people who have listened to us, and maybe even pods on other islands who will want to join our cause. It's a high price to pay, negotiator, they said. I know, but we'll survive. Our children will survive, and we'll make sure our people survive, no matter what. They gave an affirmative, and their color lightened. Okay, negotiator. Let's go talk to Leader. I let them go first, then followed Sky Mapper to decide the fate of our people. Standing on the talking dais again, I could feel the skepticism and denial quite clearly from the rest of the crowd. I turned to look at Sky Mapper, and they were showing the red-brown of uncertainty. I turned back to the leader in their pod. You need to let Sky Mapper and their team continue their work. The Science Academy should be spearheading this work, not stifling it. My appendages were the dark red of anger. The leadership pod has deemed it unnecessary. If we are meant to return to the greater ocean, then it is what we are meant to do. And Sky Mapper hasn't given us any definitive answers about when this will happen. Is it in a year, 10 years, 100, or 1,000 years? When Sky Mapper can tell us that, then we'll do something. Otherwise, we will continue as we always have. But what of our knowledge and history? The caretaker can help us build repositories for saving this data. It's data we can send to the stars, and even if we don't survive, someone will remember us. I began to feel a little dizzy, and when I looked up at the leader, the strange being with 4 arms was standing near them, waving their upper arms. The being was moving its mouth as if it was trying to talk to me. There was a voice in my mind, but it sounded as if it was in another room. I strained to hear what they were trying to tell me. The noise of the room seemed to fall away, and finally I could hear, Eli, this isn't real. You're caught in the... Who are you? I asked. Then the noise of the room came back, and everyone was looking at me. I am the leader, they said. I think it's time you went home. Go take care of your children and relax. You are obviously stressed. I started but stopped, looking around All the other people who were part of Leader's Pod or had come to listen were staring at me. All of them flashed some shade of soothing pink. I resisted the urge to curl my appendages. I marched off the dais and out of the community place. My head was ringing and the world seemed strange. I tried to move fast, wanting to get away from the public to the safety of our pod. Who was that person, I thought? Why do they keep showing up when I least expect it? What is wrong with me? The litany of questions followed me like Sky Mapper, who called out to me as I fled. Others moved out of my way as I struggled down the path. An appendage finally took one of mine. Negotiator, what's wrong? No, not here. Not again, I said, trying to release myself from Sky Mapper's grip. It was useless, though, because my vision was narrowing. No, no, not again, I said quietly, realizing I was falling. We have to make them see. Why won't anyone listen? As my vision became darker, the person was standing there again, trying to talk to me. I wondered, as the world faded to black around me, why seeing them filled me with as much love as fear. Chapter 24, The Negotiator. I watched as the children played with a floating ring in the ocean water from the deck of the ship. I wasn't the only adult making sure that they didn't get in the way of the engines, so I let my mind drift. The last year, heading to our new home had been difficult, especially for the elders. But in the years since we decided to shun ourselves, I was still shocked at how many pods decided to follow us. 5 ships of brave pods who decided that saving our history and finding a way to survive the death of our planet was more important than what Leader thought. It would be hard work when we finally reached our new home, but somehow all these people thought it was worth the price. And now they call me Leader, I mused. My arms turned a bit red at the thought. I hadn't wanted to be the leader, but the pods couldn't agree on anyone else, no matter what I said. I sighed and stared out at the horizon, still not sure what I was getting all these people into. I didn't know how long I'd been standing there, but I felt a tentative touch of appendages to mine. The mental touch said, "Stays quiet." I turned to see them dark red in color. "What's wrong?" I asked. They started, turned darker red. I opened my arms to them, and they climbed onto me, just as they did when they were smaller. Stays Quiet may have grown old enough to choose a name on this journey, but they were still young. I could feel their confusion and sadness, and wondered what had brought them to me. They were always following me like a shadow, listening, and lately sleeping in our sub-pod. I didn't mind. It wasn't common, but it wasn't abnormal either. Thinking of that, I wondered if some of the other young adults were teasing them. I sent the question mentally, and I could feel their sadness as they confirmed my suspicion.
Why do they say mean things, Zaza?
Stay Quiet asked.
I don't want to leave you or Sky Mapper or Water Listener. I love you. I don't want to be with new people. Why am I different?
I wrapped them a little tighter with my appendages. You're just different, Stays Quiet. Your mind works differently than some of the others, and some people like to make fun of what's different. Your siblings should know better, since our whole pod is full of weirdos. I chuckled, and Stays Quiet's color lightened a bit. Unfortunately, we all have an innate genetic drive that makes us want to conform. It's a very brave thing for you to live as you are.
It is?
They whispered. They were so quiet that I mostly felt their response. Yes, Stays Quiet, and none of our pod minds that you stay with us, either. If that's what you want and need, then that's what you'll get, my child. I promise. I let my love for Stays Quiet move through my touch, and Stays Quiet finally turned to a pink of contentment. We stayed like that for a while as the ship continued its journey. Eventually, Stay's Quiet fell asleep, and I brought them to the sleeping pools below. A bell was ringing somewhere. I woke up in the sleeping pool from a strange dream of having only 4 arms and wearing some sort of body covering. The dream faded as I felt the others around me stir and open their eyes. "Leader, please report to the upper deck," came the announcement over the comms. I pressed a button on the edge of the pool. "On my way," I said, disentangling myself from the others. I made my way up the ramp from below to the steering area where the captain, Seas Far, was on duty. They waved to me, excited. "We're here!" they exclaimed. "Really?" I said, feeling my spirits rise, relief flowing over me. "Oh, thank goodness. Can we see land yet?" "Yes. If you look straight ahead, you'll see some of the hills from the deck. It'll be a few more hours yet before we can actually see the shore, but for now we can start using the satellites to find the best place to land the ships. We'll need you and SkyMapper to coordinate with the others." I waved in the affirmative. "You might as well announce to all the ships that we're close to our destination, Captain. It's going to be all over the ship in about a minute." Captain laughed. "You're not kidding. I'll do that. See you in the gathering room in an hour?" I waved in the affirmative and went back to our pod sleeping pool to rouse the others. When I got there, all of them were awake and talking. Stays Quiet came to me, entwined themselves, and said,
"We're there, aren't we?"
"Yes, my dear, we are," I replied. Stays Quiet turned pink in excitement. SkyMapper put out an appendage and squeezed as they rushed out of the room. They knew what needed doing, so I let them go do it. "I have a meeting with the other ships in an hour. The rest of you should get to your workstation so you can start preparing for landing." Everyone waved in the affirmative, making excited noises. Stays Quiet clung to me, not sure what they should be doing, until Water Listener came over to us. "Stays Quiet, would you like to help me pack up the temple room?" they asked, their skin pink-white with acceptance. Stays Quiet's skin turned bright pink with pleasure.
"Yes."
And after sending love through our touch, they left with Water Listener. Water Listener waved as they left, and I had a feeling that they knew more about what Stays Quiet needed for their future than I did. Relieved, I went about the business of leading my people to their new home. They walked down the beach with the other being. Looking down, they had 4 limbs instead of 6. There were no cups on the long appendages, and at the end of both limbs there were 5 smaller appendages. They stopped walking. The other being moved a bit farther along the beach and then stopped and turned around. "What's wrong, Eli?" the other asked. "Who are you? Why do I keep seeing you? And why do you keep calling me Eli?" The hairs above their eyes slanted down. I could feel their disapproval, as if they and the other had appendages entwined.
"The memories are leaking into your dreams now,"
they said to themselves. "Things must be getting worse." "What's getting worse? Why won't you answer me?" They came forward and took my small appendages in theirs.
"You aren't the negotiator. You're Eli, and you're stuck in the ancestor's computer. The ancestor has been trying to download the data that the caretakers put in your head, but something went wrong, and now we're both trapped in the memories that you were given."
They pulled their limbs away and gave a negative wave. "No, you're wrong. I'm the negotiator, and I'm leading my people to their new home. I don't believe you."
"No, you're Eli. You're a human being. I'm Nemetona, the AI ship that you were connected to. Somehow we're stuck together in the memories of the caretaker who you met on the planet of the star system B106.
"No, the caretaker was once maker of things, and they're helping us make plans to send a ship to another planet." They stared at Nemetona. "I met that ship.
It came up on a screen from space. I went and talked to it, and the negotiator backed away from the other being. No, I'm the negotiator, and this is just a strange dream from my chronic illness that the healers don't understand. You're just an illusion. No, Eli, please. I'm not an illusion. You really are a human being named Eli whose mind is stuck in the memories of the caretaker. You have to believe me. No, I want to wake up. Leave me alone. I woke with a start in the temporary sleeping pool of our pod's new home. The others were startled awake as well, red with worry and annoyance. I'm sorry, everyone. It was just a strange dream. You can go back to sleep. Most of them did, except for Stays Quiet, who had been entwined with me while we slept. I gave a squeeze of one of their appendages as I pulled myself out of the sleeping pool and went outside to the beach. It was still night. In the first few weeks here, the sky seemed strange to me, since the stars were different here. SkyMapper tried to reassure me that I'll get used to it, and that the strangeness of the stars was only because we were on the other side of the planet. The stranger in the dream insisted that I was from another place and time, I thought to myself. Oh, that's ridiculous. I am the negotiator, the leader, and I'm here on our planet right now. I moved to the water and dipped my appendages in. The cold of the water against my suckers gave me chills.
Zaza, are you all right?
I turned to see Stays Quiet looking at me with concern. They were pinkish red in the light of the moons. I'm sorry, Stays Quiet. Did I wake you? I'm okay. You should go back to sleep. They waved in the negative.
Your dreaming woke me. You were scared in your dreams. I thought I could almost sense what you were dreaming about. Then you woke up and left the pool.
I moved away from the water and closer to Stays Quiet. It was a strange dream, but it's gone now, I said, and held out my appendages for them. They curled up against me, looking for warmth. You're learning a lot from Water Listener, aren't you? They waved in the affirmative.
I think I know what I'm supposed to be now. The ocean talks to me, Zaza. It tells me a lot of things.
Oh? Like what?
That the thing you and SkyMapper are doing is important. That we need to build a ship, and some of us believe. Others will stay and see the world die. And
They stopped, and I could feel that they were unsure about telling me something. And I took a breath and let it out.
that you are destined to pass on our souls.
Part of the dream came back to me.
The ancestor has been trying to download the data that the caretaker gave you.
I took a deep breath and let it out. I could feel that Stays Quiet believed what they were saying was a true vision. Do you know how? I asked. They waved at the negative.
I don't know, Zaza. I just know that it'll be you, and I'll be with you when it happens. There will be a lot of work to do before then.
They cuddled in closer.
And a lot of pain and death, too.
Their voice dropped to silence, but their shade of dark red worry remained. I curled tighter around Stays Quiet while we watched the moon set. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me and my writing, there are several ways to do it. Share this podcast, find me on Twitch, or subscribe to my website, ljspencer.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.